In 2006, the year Jack Dorsey sent the first tweet, Fabio Cannavaro lifted the World Cup for Italy, and Niles Barkley's crazy seemed to be everywhere, I became an adult in the eyes of the law. At 18 though, I certainly didn't feel much like one. Heading off to Newcastle University, I wasn't exactly Martin Lewis when it came to managing money. If I had a fiver left by Friday, it was unlikely to survive until Saturday, which makes me wonder, if I had access to a trust fund containing thousands of pounds, would it have been a good thing? Or would I have spent it long before graduation and lost some of the drive that eventually led me into financial services? It's not something we often consider when setting up a savings account for our children. Our intentions are positive, and that monthly contribution into the Junior ISA feels sensible enough. But will little Susie be quite so sensible when she gains full access at age 18? How best to pass on wealth to the next generation is one of the most common questions asked. It's perhaps no surprise given that inheritance tax receipts reached a record $7.7 billion this tax year, with thresholds frozen until April 2031 and unused pension funds due to become subject to IHT from April 2027. More families are likely to be affected. Every individual has a £325,000 nil rate band, meaning a married couple can potentially pass on £650,000 free of inheritance tax. Those leaving their home to direct descendants may also benefit from the residence nil rate band, potentially increasing the amount a couple can pass on to a tax-free amount of £1 million. However, estates above these thresholds can face inheritance tax at 40%, making planning increasingly important. So, what can be done? One option is simply to spend it. If you reduce your estate sufficiently during your lifetime, you may avoid an inheritance tax liability altogether while enjoying the wealth yourself. Another approach is insurance. A whole-of-life policy written into trust can provide beneficiaries with a lump sum to help meet any inheritance tax bill. While it doesn't reduce the tax itself, it can provide the funds needed to pay it. Gifting is another popular strategy. Individuals can give away up to £3,000 each tax year using their annual exemption, while certain wedding gifts and regular gifts out of surplus income may be immediately outside of the estate. Larger gifts to individuals are usually treated as potentially exempt transfers. If you survive for 7 years after making the gift, it will generally fall outside of the estate for inheritance tax purposes. Many people choose to gift money to their children through junior ISAs or other savings vehicles. However, this brings us back to the original question of trust. The junior ISA allowance is currently £9,000 a year, and assuming 6% annual growth, contributions at the maximum level for 18 years, well, it could produce a fund approaching £295,000 by age 18. That is where trusts can become particularly valuable. An absolute or bare trust gives the beneficiary full access to the assets at age 18. While the gift can fall outside of the estate after 7 years, control is ultimately lost. A discretionary trust works differently. A gift of up to £325,000 can generally be made without any immediate inheritance tax charge, provided no other chargeable transfers have been made in the previous 7 years. The gift begins to fall out of the estate over time, but no beneficiary has an automatic right to the assets. Instead, trustees decide who benefits, when they benefit, and by how much. This can provide greater flexibility and protection, particularly where there are concerns about maturity, future relationships, or unforeseen life events. Trusts are a powerful planning tool, but they are also complex. The right solution will depend on your objectives, family circumstances, and appetite for control, which is why professional advice is so important.